Hello everybody, this is episode 1 of TCG Inside. I am your host, Jonathan Sanchez, also known as RanmyakuJouten, or as the millennials of today would like to say, aka RanmyakuJouten. Here are my co-hosts,
Michael Smith Grant, also known as Popo of MisterPopoTV on YouTube.
There you go. My main channel is RanmyakuJouten. His main channel is
MisterPopoTV, K-pop YouTubing. So if you like Korean music, or for the guys out there, girls, or for the girls out there, Korean guys, yeah, K-pop it is.
You get the point.
Yeah.
Now, for episode 1 of TCG Inside, we're going to discuss a couple of things that, well, it's rather important in this game. And either we might agree on it, we might debate on it. We just got to watch the episode to find out. Definitely. Now, first thing I want to talk about, right off the bat, is this pass of YCS. Now, this pass of YCS is almost laughable with terrible rulings.
Of course.
To say the least. But before we even get into that and get into, because we're getting into how terrible Konami has been the past couple of years, the rising of ARG has really put a dent in their armor. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about the 32 top decks, 22 of them being Necros. Now, the way I feel is the deck is very good.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying the deck is bad. I'm not one of those players that doesn't have the deck. I can't afford a deck. But I'm not one of those players that can't afford a deck and therefore says the deck is bad. However, it's only a 522-man event, which was Tacoma. That's almost a YCS, not a YCS, a regional in Philly. Like, Philly regional's got like 300 people.
Yeah.
They get a little bit more than 200. We used to have Kings regionals in Edison that would max out like 200 around there. So basically our New York regionals would be almost as half as the YCS that just passed. So we know that 522 people played in this event. And we know about either half or more than half of these players are playing Necros. So for me, 22 to 32 isn't as impressive because the majority of the players are playing Necros. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess the hype was real. You know, I'm a Necros player myself. I've been playing the deck since they were released on Dueling Network. And I definitely know that a lot of people were playing the deck wrong to begin with. A lot of people went there probably trying to play, you know, the usual.
I'm glad you bring that up. That's definitely the last topic we'll talk about in this episode.
Oh, playing the deck wrong?
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people went there because they thought it was going to be the best deck. And, of course, like, Necros, while it might be the best deck right now in a lot of people's eyes, the deck is not an easy deck that you can just put your helmet on and like snap it or knock it a couple of times and you just start winning. No, it doesn't happen like that. You have to actually think. So for people who can't think or don't want to think, then that's not the deck for you, literally. And you know, there's a lot of misplays, of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. I would say as far as the comeback game, I think it's strong, but I don't think it's as strong as Quill Force, you know, of course, penaltying some of the late game and whatnot.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, I somewhat agree with you, but mainly I don't because the Quill Fort comeback game fully depends on 2 scales. So, and we all know Scout doesn't live if an opponent has a response to it. And during late games, a lot of times you're going to be summoning monsters to be pushing for damage to try and get the game, which and then they fall into Valkyrius, and we know how that turns out. So, Quill Fort's comeback game is very strong, but I think Necros' comeback game is strong because for Quill Force to really come back, Pendulum Summon is a great mechanic. However, what really matters is Pendulum Summoning into Tributing, and when you get into those late games, you might not have the fodder to tribute.
That's true.
All your best tribute monsters might be in the Pendulum Zone, so at least in the extra deck, I mean. So it really depends. It just really depends on how you play the game state, what's still left in each other's deck and stuff like that. So 22 to 32 decks with Necros. The way I feel is that 22 of those 32 was definitely because of the majority of the deck was Necros decks. It's not necessarily because of the skill set of players or because the deck is so good. Even though the deck is really that good, it's just, we all know numbers really do count. Analytics really do count in this game. And when you go into an event and the majority of the event is playing one deck, chances are the majority of that deck is going to make it to the playoff cut. And I wasn't disagreeing at one point. I think Quill Fort is the best deck right now, just because Quill Fort's it's not necessarily the worst matchup for Necros, but it definitely is the only deck that could give Necros a run for his money besides the
it is a good matchup. It's just that, you know,
because of the floodgates.
Yeah, because of the floodgates. It's just that, you know, just my experience playing against Necros players, I mean against Quill Fort players, it all depends on the. Of course, it all depends to the cards that you draw itself.
Yeah.
It's just that when Netcross really get their engine going, like the Netcross player, the game is going to be decided within the first 3 turns. You're going to know if you're going to be playing from behind or playing from ahead against the player.
Right.
And it's just Netcross, it's just an overpowering matchup. You know me, like, even when I play with Evos, I like control. Even though this deck doesn't have any traps to really control, it all controls your opponent from the card effects and just overpowering. The Netcross deck makes it so that your opponent can't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, pretty much.
In all honesty, honestly, I think the best card in the Necros deck has to be Valkyrius. If you take out Valkyrius, you people do not understand how easy it is to defeat Necros. There is literally no line of defense. Core Force will go in there OTK, BA will go in there OTK. Really, Valkyrius is the one card that makes that deck unfair because Valkyrius buys you turns, and then after that you drop Unicorn, you get back Valkyrius, it buys you more turns to set up more plays. So I really do think, besides Unicorn, because Unicorn is a key component.
Yeah,
but I think
why they hit it in the OCG.
Yeah, but I really think Valkyrius is the one underrated card in that deck that really makes that deck unfair because you set up certain plays, and don't get me wrong, Core Force is kind of helmety, and it's rather easy to pilot, but in a game against Necros, when you're trying really hard to push for that game and they drop Valkyrius, it's just really game shattering. It really is to know that you got to give your opponent 3 to 4 turns. There's nothing you could do. Yeah, you could play the best you can, but if they have Valkyrius, they're just gonna get it back with Unicorn because they can search your Bionic and stuff like that.
Slowly, that card is rising in price as well because people are going to start to notice that you might want to play 3 of that card.
I think so. Yeah, I think a lot of people are. Well, a couple of builds I saw play 3, but I think a lot of people are comfortable at 2. But 3 is definitely what you want to play. Definitely. All right. So this is a good one right here. Konami price support. Where's ARG price support? This is not even a competition. We know who wins this, right? But the reason why I bring this up is because we seen it. We see Konami, their numbers in terms of their events are going down, and people are losing interest. And Konami seems as if they're not really doing anything, and it's really a shame. And the one thing that's really turning people off, besides the fact that they're not doing any good price support, is the top 16. What is it? Top 16
sealed tournament.
Yeah, sealed battle pack. I mean,
it's they're trying to do Magic the Gathering, and it's a bad job of doing what Magic does because one, these Yu-Gi-Oh, the cards when the first sealed tournament came out, these cards were not made for sealed play at all. That it was just an annoying format, and now, I mean, I understand they want people to become better deck builders and whatnot, but they're going about it the wrong way. They can have sealed YCSs like they've done before. There's no problem having a whole event sealed, but to make somebody who spent $1,000 or more, not only on their deck, but the plane ride or the car trip in the hotel fees to go there to play the deck that they thought that they wanted to play there itself. And then you find out, oh, top 16, well, put your deck away. You no longer need it for the rest of the tournament. Now it's going to come down to luck. And literally.
I mean, the game's already based on luck, but
now you just up the luck by another 110%.
Now we're playing Vanguard, because now you got to hope for that crit that comes in to save. But, I mean, it's really unfair. You bring up a good point. You spend all this money on your traveling fees, on your deck, if you're buying the deck, because a lot of people do borrow decks, so... And food and hotel and things of that nature. You've been just preparing for this event for months and months and months, sometimes weeks, sometimes days, it depends how much time you have, only to make it to top 16 on a very good performance to get hit with, well, guess what? Everybody drafted good cards before I did, and I got the really crappy luck, and now I'm just stuck here.
If you're like Patrick Hoban and you get 3 Freyas, I don't know who you are who keeps giving Patrick Hoban 3 Freyas every single tournament. Did you not read the previous tournaments that he won in? I'm just saying, like, I just read I haven't played this game since a long time competitively, but I read the reports, and I saw it pop up on my news feed. I said 3 Freya. Oh well, he's about to win another YCS, and that's because he's a good deck builder. He's a good player, but I mean, like, come on, guys, 3 Freyas. That's free.
Oh,
in battle pack.
And for the people who don't understand what we're getting at is that in the sealed tournament, every monster counts as every type. So Freya comes out, and Freya just protects everything. But if you definitely double Freya, that it's games.
Yeah.
They can't get over it.
And that's because, you know, Konami made this special rule, of course,
yeah, the special
for battle packs where every monster type is the same, which is retarded, you know.
Now, the reason why I bring up Konami prize support versus ARG's prize support is because we talked about this a couple days ago, actually last week when we went to get their games in Staten Island. Konami has a remedy. They have resources and they have all the money in the world. I mean, come on. They have Hideo Kojima. This is a different department of Konami, but they have Hideo Kojima and they have Metal Gear Solid. Different department, same company.
They have much money from it.
They have Castlevania. Different department, but overall it's Konami. They have money. Then they have Yu-Gi-Oh! The
number one TCG in the world. And
they're not spending money. Yeah. And the one way they can remedy this, I'm not saying I want to see ARG die or anything like that. ARG has been the most professional thing we've come close to in this Yu-Gi-Oh! Community
similar to Star City Games.
So, with that being said, the remedy is very simple. They already have Dragon Duels, which is a different league from what we do. And
for the children.
It's for the children. And
the Chargers card game.
Exactly. Now, the one thing that really gets us is that Konami treats us as children in terms of prize support because they don't give us what we need, what we want. We're grown men, right? We don't want to play for iPads. Yeah. We don't want to play for cards the cards that we get from these tournaments we can sell on eBay. Yeah. But overall, we don't want to play for Xbox 360s. You know, we don't want to play for gaming consoles. We already have all this stuff. What we want is money. We're grown men. Yeah. Magic plays for money, and that's your #1 competition. Yeah. And that's what you should really be striving to achieve.
Especially with all they pay on the iPad. And, I mean, of course, they get some wholesale price and whatnot. They get in these deals. Like, it's nothing for them. What's $400? What's $1,000 or $1,500 to give away to somebody who wins first place? Like, that's nothing for them.
Now, the remedy is very simple. Like I said before, they have Dragon Duels, which is for people who are 13 years and under. Then after that, they can make another league, which is Intermediate League, which would be for people who are 14 through 17, who are clearly not in Dragon Duels, but still need a parent's consent to join a tournament. And Intermediate would not be giving out money. They'll be giving out, you know, what they're giving out now. And then we'll have the Professional League, where it's us. Where we go out there and we play for money, and they don't have to worry about the kids getting mixed up with the adults because it's just going to be adults there.
Unless they wanted kids to be in the tournament, it should still be open for kids.
I mean, yeah, you know, but then it'll be here's the thing though, and I'm pretty sure Konami thought about this, but they're like, all right, we do this, they have to spend more money because we have to rent out another area of this convention center to do Dragon Duels for these kids, right? And that's what it really comes down to, because if they do this, they have to spend more money. Either they have to do more events, they have to rent out more area for the convention center to do these other type of other leagues for us to get what we want. And at the end of the day, in order to make money, you have to spend money. Yeah. Right?
And Konami seems to be complacent right now. You know, when Magic got complacent, Yu-Gi-Oh! Took over.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Took over.
So, exactly. And, you know, that's pretty much where it came to, because even Pokemon at that time was #1. And then, you know, Magic didn't get complacent anymore. They said, all right, we got to reclaim this. Then now Yu-Gi-Oh! Has pretty much been dominant for how many years now? Forever, it feels like sometimes.
Since the 5Ds era.
Yeah, since the 5Ds era. And now, you know, they've sold billions and billions of cards. Yeah. You know, and with these different leagues, because like I said, you have somebody like your world champion in Dragon Duels, Oliver, who can hold his own with the championship pros. Yeah. So, you know, you give those children the options, but you still give them the Dragon Duels themselves. But you just have that pro league because just like MLGs, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, Konami's already doing side events where they do 3-man teams.
Yeah.
So Konami can easily go, okay, you know what, we're gonna do a professional league, we'll make teams, and these teams will have owners, and these owners will draft the players that they want. And there you go. It's just
like MLG, yeah.
Yeah, it's like exactly like MLG, and we see how much money MLG rakes in every single year. It's only continuing to grow. They spend a lot of money, but they make a lot more money than they spend, and that's what Konami has to do.
Sponsors, especially.
Yeah, and that's what Konami has to do. If we, as a player base, is going to take them seriously, because let's be serious here, nobody takes Konami seriously anymore, especially after this last event, which I want to get into very quickly, where they did 2 terrible rulings, One of them being that Kaleidoscope is not a cost, but it has to resolve as much as possible. Therefore, if you activate Kaleidoscope and your opponent goes Vanity's Emptiness, they still send whatever they want to send from the extra deck, even though it's not a cost. Makes absolutely no sense.
Not at all.
And the second one being Snatch Steal does not target. Now, does that make sense?
Bro.
Does that make sense? This is Konami. And the head judge said Snatch Steal does not target. This makes absolutely no sense. And this is why nobody takes Konami seriously anymore, because not only is their price support ass, they're not really doing anything for the players, they're making it hard for the players to play competitively.
Yeah.
And now they're giving us bad voting.
Like, you can't.
This has to be embarrassing for Julia. I mean, this really has to be embarrassing for Julia. And I'm not even trying to bash or anything, but the truth has to be said. Somebody has to stand up and say, Konami, this is what you have to do. It starts with one person. In this case, it starts with two. The host and the co-host of this show. Now, here's another thing that Konami is doing bad. I lack a good coverage.
Oh yeah. You know, Metagame was the #1 coverage site.
Yeah, it's been a couple centuries since they've been around.
Yeah, and you know, of course Jason has been there. Is he still doing it nowadays?
I don't even know, man.
It's just like, you know, coverage. It's not that hard to compete with Magic the Gathering in coverage. They do live streams all the time. You know, even that is what people want to see. ARG does live streams. You know, they make people pay to see the higher quality live streams. But
we're definitely getting into that a little bit.
But they make people, you know, it's still, if people want to see that content, you know, it's whatever. It's still the fact that the live stream should be available for players. Because the only way to get more players is to actually show exactly what happens during the tournament. So whether if Konami don't do it, I don't see a problem with us going there to events, doing coverage and doing, you know, news reporting. Because look at it, you know, somebody's got to do a better job at it. ARG keeps up with their coverage. It's not that hard.
And the crazy thing is, ARG, not for nothing. I'm not trying to bash or anything like that. Let's just say that one more time. I'm not trying to bash. ARG's not even doing that much of a good job. Let's be honest. They're really not. And they could do so much better. But the thing about ARG is that they have an excuse. This is like them, it's a work in progress. They're just getting their feet up and they're trying to compete with Konami, which is the juggernaut of the Yu-Gi-Oh community. So I give them a pass on that.
Yeah, their coverage, you know, like I haven't followed ARG as much, but I know when they first had their first event, their coverage was on point. It brought back memories of when they had the top 16 photo shoot. When's the last time that happened? That was a throwback, and I like that. And even the ideas of now, of course, swapping out championships for rings. Like
that's a great idea because people definitely want rings. Yeah. People want to feel like Tom Brady.
I would rather have a ring than a trophy, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I like rings.
I mean, let's be real here. A couple of the players who got some rings cheated too. I mean, I'm just saying. So, the lack of good coverage, right? We got to get back on that. Now, we know that Konami only does live streams during the Worlds, which is absolutely terrible. Do they even do live streams on Nationals?
They did Nationals this past year.
They did Nationals?
Like,
they do Nationals too.
They do Nationals when it was like overseas, like Europe. They don't do like American.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, we need live coverage for YCSs. Because remember how back in the day, a couple of years ago, YCS used to be once every month. Yeah. Now it feels like it's once every every 3 months.
They changed it.
Yeah, it's
slower now.
Besides Tacoma, which was, anybody knows which was the last YCS besides Tacoma?
South Carolina, I believe.
Which was when?
No.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Wasn't that NRG?
South Carolina.
Yeah.
So
and then it was
that was like a month ago, right? Yeah. But these YCSs definitely feel a lot slower than what they used to be. And with that being said, the live coverage definitely needs to be there. Because let's be real here. I judged for Konami sanctioned event once, and the pay is not worth the amount of hours you stand up on your feet to judge and answer these stupid questions, right? Let's just be real here. Let's be honest. So I'm pretty sure the lack of good coverage is because of lack of payment. You're only going to put in as much effort as you're getting out.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're not getting nothing, you're not going to put in nothing. So because of that, there's a simple way to remedy this. If the quality of your articles suck, because that's what it is at the end of the day, their articles are terrible, put in live coverage. You no longer really need to do articles then. You just put in live coverage.
Commentators.
You put in good commentators. Yeah. And that's what we got to talk about with ARG, because their commentators are not that great, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Just put in live coverage. and that's it. A lot of people will be a lot more happier, and they start making money off Twitch, because people are definitely going to tune in to watch these YCSs.
If Konami had a Twitch and they live stream all this, hey, that's more money for them especially.
Yep.
People will do this for free just to get their name out there.
Exactly.
You know, Team Spooky, which is huge in the fighting game community. You know, they have they are known as streamers and doing live stream and live coverage and like that. You could imagine if we had the same type of team to do that at these events itself.
For Konami.
Exactly, for Konami. Like,
Konami doesn't even have the employees do it. It could just...
Yeah, people will do this for free.
Do it for free.
Of course, they would like to get paid. Of course, you can pay for their hotels and whatnot. And you know, with other little perks out there. But there are people out there who are willing to do this just for the betterment of the community.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot, you know... Like, I hope people don't watch this video be like, oh, well, or Konami raps, oh, well, you guys are just bashing everything Konami or everything ARG. No, these are constructive thoughts to help better the game and make sure that, you know, for those who want to remain competitive out there, can stay competitive, because you're taking away those things that make the game already, you know.
And, you know, I think one of the things, too, the reason the biggest reason why they don't want to do cash prize tournaments is because they are fearful of the players that will attend these events. Let's be real. There's a lot of players that are banned right now that are wrongfully banned. But for the people who are rightfully banned, not every thief is banned. And I'm pretty sure Konami is scared of, like, all right, we throw this type of tournament, we're definitely going to have the thieves come in, and it's going to be...
Which is why there would never be a YCS New York.
Yes, and well, besides that, there's also the rent in New York, too. Because they're going to have to do it in Manhattan. There's no other way you can do it in... Maybe Brooklyn. Maybe Brooklyn. There's this nice...
YCS Bronx.
That's not happening, right? So, I'm pretty sure they're very fearful of these players coming in and, you know, kicking book bags. And
soccer
just,
team.
hashtag soccer team. And I'm pretty sure they're very fearful of those players coming in, and they're going to be there for like, all right, we're going to definitely take these decks and things of that nature, because that's exactly what these tournaments are going to bring. But you have to take that chance. Magic has a lot more on the line than Yu-Gi-Oh does, both with cash prizes and the decks being brought. I mean, we can talk about Standard, we could talk about Modern, we could talk about what, Legacy is what it's called?
Yeah.
Legacy.
We could talk about Legacy, and let's be real here. A lot of those decks are far more expensive than Yu-Gi-Oh decks. And I mean, Magic players and Yu-Gi-Oh players are two totally different species. And not every Yu-Gi-Oh player is going to be civilized. But not every Magic player is civilized. So I think you definitely have to give us the chance. I believe we deserve it. We literally are the people who feed Konami's families, and we give them food on the table. So I think this is something that we deserve. Try it out.
Definitely.
And if you're scared of the little kids getting mixed in with the adults, then just take the advice of making different leagues. And that's a problem solved right there. Also, make good coverage. We need good coverage, because I mean, nationals and worlds.
That's about it. And
that's like, 2 events. That's terrible.
Two events out of the year.
whole calendar.
And
then let's not even talk about the YCS's top 32 decks. I don't remember the last time I went to a Konami website and I saw the top 32 deck list. That's how long it takes now.
Yeah, it's because Yugi tubers. You know, Konami.
That's besides the point.
Yeah, Konami is like, oh, the Yugi tubers are gonna get it.
That's besides the point. It's pretty sad when Konami is the main distributor and they're doing worse than Upper Deck, and Upper Deck was doing a better job than them. And we know what Upper Deck was doing. They were selling counterfeit cards, and that's just sad.
If I also might interject, it also helps that Magic doesn't reprint cards that people don't want to be reprinted, cards that you work hard for. You win a tournament, or you do really well in a tournament, you get a card saying, hey, you did really well, here's your prize, that no one else could claim because this is the only way to get it. Konami, you get a prize card, and then 2 years later, after they've juiced it for all the money that they can, they reprint it, and not just reprint it in a pack, they literally give it out in a magazine promo.
Yep. They do that with all the, like, you know, we're expecting Giant Hand soon.
Yeah, okay.
And Ascension Dragon. Remember when they printed Doom Caliber Knight, and then they just ended, and then the next month Doom Caliber Knight was in a book, or was it or I forgot what card it was.
I mean, the easiest one has to be what, Crush card, right?
Oh yeah, Crush card.
That's the best.
That's the best
for
one.
I mean,
I was happy.
We're definitely gonna talk about card prices being high. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but let's jump on ARG's tail a little bit, because we've been going a little bit hard on Konami. Rightfully so. They deserve a lot of the constructive criticism that we just gave out to them. But let's talk about ARG. ARG I have a bone to pick with them. I watch their streams. I support their streams. But I feel as if you have to spend $5 a month, which is not a lot, but the fact that you have to spend $5 a month to watch 1080p, which is free everywhere else, that just makes no sense. ARG, fix that, please. Please fix that. I don't want to spend $5 a month to watch 1080p, and there's a loophole around that, because I could go on my phone and watch 1080p for free. So if you're going to do that, at least make sure you have all platforms controlled, all right? Just watch, keep an eye on that. But that's not the one thing I want to talk about. The one thing I want to talk about is their commentators. Because they need better commentators. And I'm not saying we can do a better job, not at all. However, I am saying that when you think of professional card games, the one thing that ARG should definitely take inspiration from is, what's it called from Magic? Card City? Card City games?
Star City.
Star City games. There you go. Thank you. Star City games. Star City games. Right? I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. I am not a Magic player. I only played once, and when I was playing, I was being tutored by a friend throughout the whole game. Right? I have no idea what they're talking about, but yet their commentators are so professional. Their commentators are so charismatic that they attract me to watching these streams, even though I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
All I know is that this person has 20 life, this person has 20 life, this person has 0, this person just won. That's literally all I know. And in order for their live streams to be far more successful and go over more than 1,000 that they usually get, because they usually max out around 1,000. Maybe they might get 2,000 on a good weekend. But Star City Games, when they stream, boom, 16,000 right off the bat. If ARG wants to get to that point, it starts with the basics. And it starts with the commentators. Because the commentators, they have good players as commentators, which is not bad. That's a great idea, because you need people who understand the game. But you also need people who can attract the attention and keep the attention rate there. The retention rate is always important when it comes to videos. And their commentators, I know you probably haven't seen an ARG stream.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Right,
like,
so
I've seen the one where I think a Sean McCabe won or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. With
So,
the Eagle Swarms or
the
Stellars, one of those decks.
So you probably don't really understand where I'm coming from, but the commentators definitely need to improve, and it's not easy to find good commentators, but I think they definitely have to go out there and find a team of solidified commentators that are only there to commentate, you know. And another thing they definitely have to do is their ad rolls. Right, like let's say when players are side decking, they go into the little ads and they're like ARG this, ARG that. They have to improve that as well. Not bashing, but constructive criticism. If you want to be taken a little bit more seriously, like Star City Games, when they do their ad rolls, it looks like you're watching TV, and that's what ARG needs to aspire to become. If they want to really
ARG can literally be the Star City Games.
Yes, for you.
Like right now, they are in the process of.
They're becoming that.
Yeah, and I believe that they will in due time.
I have faith that they will too. They have the best players there, and their ideals for their tournament play is great. The only thing I disagree with is showing deck lists. I don't agree with that.
They used to do that back.
They still do
that for the jumps.
For back in
the jumps,
that when it was top 16, you had the information of the people who you were playing. I mean, I kind of like that because right now it does give you the information of people who you're playing for, so it feels more competitive because
I disagree with that.
No, it's even look at other things that have tournaments before. I want to use an anime example. Yu Yu Hakusho, Dark Tournament. Yeah.
Want to go there?
Yeah. I'm just saying, you see everyone's skill. Like people could pay attention to whatnot. Of course, you're gonna have your feature matches if you want to say. But when you get to the top 16, you guys are the top 16 players of this tournament, and now your skills are on basically there. Sure, it could be a surprise. But I guess that's what Konami switched for Seal and whatnot. But now it's not a surprise anymore. It's you have the strategy, and now you know how to pretty much go about it.
Let me tell you why I disagree with that. Because when you know a player's deck card for card, it no longer comes down to you being skillful, because now you know exactly how to play against that matchup. Part of being skillful in card games, including poker, is being able to read your opponent. Being able to read your opponent's emotions, their faces, their body movement, their body language, and most important when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, being able to read their card ratios. Looking at their graveyard, starting coming up with ratios and formulas and numbers for how many cards they have left in their hand, in their deck, how many copies, and how many copies they're going to play. When you know exactly what they're playing and how many cards they're playing, that throws that skill level out the window.
But
everybody
does bring
can
a different skill level.
It does. But at the same time, the most important skill level that you need, the most important asset, the skill set that you need, which is the ability to read, is no longer necessary as much.
It's not necessary as much, but then you have people who do soft cheating, looking at the bottom card of the deck. That happens to almost every single turn.
Yeah, I mean, of course. But the thing is, you could look at the bottom card of the deck. You could look at my disc.
Yeah.
But do you know how many discs I'm playing? Most people play 2. I play 3.
But that's the whole thing where the community is at right now, especially with net decking, because the majority of people will play around the same ratios.
I understand exactly what you're saying, because there's 2 different sides to this story. But overall, I believe if you show a really good player another player's deck list, that really good player should 2-0. It's just that simple.
I mean, if it's 2 really, really good players, then that's what they're assuming.
Because part of the point,
because it's the top 16, you're supposed to be a good player.
Exactly. Part of the thing of being good in Yu-Gi-Oh is being able to bluff your opponent. If your opponent knows you're not running very good protection, what's stopping them from going just ham on you? Nothing.
Yeah. If you don't if your opponent knows you're not playing Mirror Forest,
and then if your opponent knows exactly what you're citing,
yeah, I agree. There's a lot of negative in content.
There's a lot of negatives, but that's the way it's done. We can't complain right now. It's just constructive criticism, and that's the way it's going to be. Now, let's talk about one of the most important things that a lot of people tend to overlook when it comes to Konami, and that's card prices being high because of rarity, not necessarily the secondary market. Because the most important opinion when it comes to a lot of these players is that these card prices are high because of the secondary market. And they're high because people are willing to pay the prices of the secondary market, which is 50% the truth. But there's always 2 sides to a coin.
Definitely.
And in this case, like I know Silent Enigma is very adamant about the secondary market being the reason why card prices are so high. And I love that man. I love his videos. He's great. He's funny. He knows what he's talking about 97% of the time. But when it comes to the other 3% is very low, but it happens because everybody's not perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. But card prices, in all honesty, if you really think about it, really comes down to Konami. And let's take Necros for the prime example. Everybody was excited about Necros because it's always a hidden arsenal set. We're going to be able to play this deck. Everybody's going to have it. It's going to come down to skill sets because we're all going to be in mirror matches. And whoever drew better or whoever plays better is going to win. And we're all going to have a fun time because we're going to have Brios, we're going to have Trishes. That wasn't the case. Now we're looking at a $150 Brio that can easily rise within the next couple of weeks. And why is that? Because Konami decided to make a short print.
Cold money.
And hashtag cold money. And the thing is here, with Konami making short prints like this, this forces the secondary market to buy more boxes. Which therefore makes Konami more money. Right? Think about it. If we had 1 Brio, 1 Trish per box, not as many cases would be sold. Konami would not be making as much money. But at the same time, you can make the argument that since there's so many Brios and Trishes being sold or being packed in a case and per box, that more people are going to buy it. So either way you look at it, Konami makes their money.
Sold more than Secret
Exactly. Konami makes their money, but Konami decided, in my eyes, to play it safe to make these cards short print. Therefore, they can be like, oh, we're out of cases. We can't sell you. You guys have to wait till the unlimited edition version comes out, and you guys can go absolutely ham. So I don't necessarily blame the secondary market. I blame Konami. Konami should make cards a little bit more easier to attain. I understand you want to hold that rarity value, because if the card is not rare, then the card is not valued very high. But this is insane. When you have a secondary market valuing a Brio at $150 when everybody was expecting the deck to be easily attainable.
Do you think about Konami selling singles one day?
I think that's a great idea. The problem with that is we're going to have people that we know, that we love, like Dez, and a lot of these other vendors and a lot of our card shops are going to go out of business because Konami directly is going to have the best prices. And you cannot beat Konami's prices because it's going to come directly from them. So I don't know if that's the great idea to do that, because our car shops would die. Right? I mean, we could still go there for tournaments, but who's going to buy from car shops?
Yeah, if they can, I mean, well, of course, if they have a limited supply online, but of course, it's then supply and demand because they can make as much as they want.
Yeah.
You know, there's just no, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I guess we could say thank God Konami hasn't done that yet, but who knows when.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think they can make cards rare, but just like Vanity's Emptiness when it was common, it was a crap card. It was like it was a card you see and you threw it out, and then it became good, and because it was a short print originally, because originally it was a short print, it became
$50 common.
Yeah, a $50, $40 common. That's insane. That's something you definitely have to clean up, and they do somewhat clean up with their reprints. But the problem with their reprints is that their reprints come out 8 months after the card is relevant.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, if you don't want to hurt the secondary market and have them jump on your back because you're taking away my money by reprinting cards so soon, then make cards a little bit easier to attain. Cards are a little bit easier. Like, think about it like this: if Brio was a little bit easier to attain, Brio would still retain a value of about $70 to $80. It's still going to be a very, very pricey card, but it's not going to be $150. So they still make their money. It's cheaper, and people could go out there and play. People are willing to spend $70, $80 on a card. People are willing to spend $150 on Brio right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So one of the very last things we're going to talk about, and we're going to bring people in the room here to talk about, is Tech against Necros and how they feel they can beat them. So I'm going to run down my list real quick, and this is the majority of the cards that can beat them. Side deck, I'm not talking about main deck. So let's jump right into this. We have Imperial Iron Wall. We have Soul Drain. We have Spell Canceller. We have Shared Ride. We have Drone Lockbird. We have Mind Drain, we have Mistake, we have Artifact Lancia, we have Vanity's Fiend, Vanity's Emptiness, and my 4 personal favorites, we have Mind Crush, Prohibition, Curse Seal, Forbidden Spell, and Mask Restrict. If there's any text in here that's not in this list, what are they for you?
Of course, Majesty Fiend.
Okay.
That's another one that could be done.
You like Majesty's Fiend? Because they can just special summon and hit over it.
They will need to, you know, they're going to have to need the effects. I mean, they can't Shul or anything. You might have other things. Of course, even in the mirror matchup, Secret Village of the Spellcasters, that's another one.
The people here want to say Thunder King.
Yeah, I don't want to say Thunder King.
But the thing with Thunder King is
they can special summon.
They can special summon over it and hit over it. So Thunder King is
You know, the thing about Necros is that you can have all the cards in the world. It's just that you gotta know when to put the lock on. You know, because you know we've tested a lot.
Yeah, we definitely do.
And literally, the Necros deck, it's unfair in that you know you have to literally have all these cards and have the monster support to go along with it, because you can sit there with a Master Restrict, Imperial Iron Wall, and Skill Drain and everything else on the field, and then you flip over that Fairy Wind and then it's Sad Faces. You know, it's just that the Necros archetype has what I mean by overpowering. It's that Necros can literally put you in a disadvantage from turn 1 or turn 2. And it makes all those cards useless because if you don't have the other support to back it up, you know how it is when you side deck. You don't want to take away from your entire main deck. That's what a lot of side deck cards have. You know, that's why Quill Force is such a hard matchup, because it has so many floodgate options that it doesn't take away from Quill Force, because they have a search engine and Scout where they can go, okay, sure, I get Scout, pay 800, and I get a free card. So I'm getting 2 free cards every turn, which is why cards like Time. You could imagine if Time Seal was legal in this format, what it would be like. People doing Time Seal, flipping Mask of Darkness and Tsukiyomi every turn. You can't attack, but you're not going to be able to draw. Stuff that, or if drop off like back in the days was more popular.
Drop off.
Like you could imagine that, like if it's like that. Trap Death Shoot will be so unfair right now. What is it? Your opponent only has to have 4 cards in hand. You trap Dust Shoot your opponent, they gotta go super minus, especially if you go first. It's stuff like that.
Even though I will argue that Trap Dust Shoot is a little bit more fair in today's game than it was back in the day, because in today's game you start off with 5. Yeah. Back in the day, you start off with 6. So you hit your opponent with Trap Dust Shoot when they're going second. They're gonna start off with 5, the same amount that you have. So it's a little bit more fair now. But overall, just seeing information knowing what they're playing, what's in their hand, I think is what makes the card not worthy of bringing back. Now, here are my favorite cards. I main deck the Mind Crush because it's just you just have to main deck the Mind Crush now. But for side deck options, if you don't main deck Mind Crush, my favorites are Mind Crush. Reason being because Mind Crush hits Valkyrius. When you're swinging in for game, you don't have to worry about it. Prohibition for the same exact thing. You Prohibition Valkyrius when you're going to go in for games a little bit faster than Mind Crush. If you have a game right there with Prohibition, Valkyrius. Valkyrius is most likely going to be in their hand because they're waiting for you to swing for that big swing and they're going to stop it and try to push. If you call Valkyrius, it's game. You can also, Prohibition is just extremely applicable in so many situations. You can Prohibition any one of their ritual spells. You can Prohibition Unicorn, which hurts the deck. You can Prohibition so many things, but you just want to Prohibition that Valkyrius. It's janky, but it's an option. Massive Restrict is definitely one of my favorite tech cards because it hits not only Necros, but it hits Squirrel Force. It hits Squirrel Force pretty hard. They can't Stormforth because that's one of their favorite side deck options, is Stormforth.
The only thing with Massive Restrict is that it can't get around Kaleidoscope. Or it can't get around Exo Mirror. It only really stops Cycle. And because they can easily go summon Manju and then go Unicorn, and then they can send the Master Restrict back with like a Castell or Exoton to field. It's the same, like with Thunder Kings, like deck lockdown. Same applications. It's just that
the spell card.
Yeah, the spell card, because that card was more applicable during the Dragon Ruler format.
Yeah, when
Spellbook of Judgment was
Spellbook of Judgment.
It was Spellbook of Judgment.
But the best card.
Oh my god.
Clearly, right now in this format, because we're expecting to see a lot of Necros, has to be Curse Seal Forbidden Spell.
Definitely, because it hits Necros, it hits
Crowforts.
Hit
Shaddolls if you want to side against Shaddolls.
You can hit Shaddolls with Shadow. Oh my god. Shadow Fusion goes, it's over.
It's over.
That's 1/3 of the deck shut down. And then after that, you hit them with El Shadow Fusion. If that's gone, I don't know how that deck wins.
They can't win. That's why fusions are bad. But a lot of people, I'm sorry, because I know you play heroes. I'm very sorry. I apologize.
Hit that mass change. Your deck gone, bro.
One of the things that a lot of people are really comfortable with right now is Vanity's Fiends. That's in a lot of people's side deck. But I am letting you guys know, and Vanity's Emptiness, I'm letting you guys know these guys side hands, and Vanity's Fiend is never safe on board. I decided to not even side Vanity's Fiend against that matchup, even though I cannot play Crowforts. There's just no point. It's just set hand. If you're playing a deck that has no shenanigans, that it only can attack,
especially if you had a Firehead with a Vanity Fiend, you're just kind of all salty.
You gotta run into a hand, and then Vanity's Fiend is gonna. Yeah. That's why Necros is so good, because they have so many options.
Or if they snatch steal it.
They could do that too, and they could be like you and play fucking two-hit armories.
Snatch steal does target for those of you out there.
It does target. They can play two-hit armories like you.
Yeah. You can play two-hit armories like me, I'm just saying.
Curse Field, the Forbidden Spell is definitely the best right now. And then, anybody want to, before we wrap it up, talk about how they feel about Necros? Are we good here?
I think it's going to get destroyed by the ban list in March. I think it's just.
I think they're going to last a little bit longer. I think they're going to last 2 full
I think it hit Manju to 1.
I just think that what Necros is actually going to do, they're just going to try to. You're going to need to play archetypes that isn't what the last meta was. You see, the last meta was Burning Abyss, Shaddolls. It was no backrow. It was all YOLO. Now this format coming up, you can't play decks like that no more. That's why everybody, they like how the way the Osenju archetype is, because it's all about, okay, I'm gonna hit hard, but I can play almost every single floodgate in the format. And the reason why when I mentioned T-King is because T-King by himself, let's face it, it's fragile.
Yeah.
But T-King with back row, that's powerful. And you can sit there and waste your summon, but it's going to take you out of your zone. It's going to take you out of your character for you to actually just to get over that one T-King. If it does that, then T-King did his job.
T-King emptiness combo is...
And I think that's what it is. And that's what a lot of players now, especially in OCG, you notice that a lot of random decks top, even when there was in a store or in a tournament for Necros. Why? Because if you pay attention to how their floodgates work or how their side is, you start to realize. That's why before Mirror Force wasn't a thing. Mirror Force suddenly became a thing now. Basically, all types of cards that become punishable, Now it's a valid reason for you to play these cards. And now this is just going to be a format where Necros, they're going to do their thing wholeheartedly. But I feel like if you're able to sit there and play an archetype that can play floodgates and sustain a good board, you may sit there and have a chance. And that's May. I just want to emphasize on that because Necros is still a beast.
It reminds me a little bit of Six Samurai. When Six Samurai first hit, you know, the newer support along with 3 gateways, it was absolutely insane. I remember playing it. Even if you didn't get the Xian lock, you go with 2 gateway and 1 monster, and that's all you need. You can flood the field with everything, but after, you know, you whittle it down a little bit, it was still very powerful. But other decks were able, limited gateway, and other decks were able to, you know what, I can compete. It's not just I can overpower, I can compete, have a chance to beat the deck. Right now at Necros, I feel you either hit your side deck cards, and I feel honestly, unless you're playing like Clifford's, Game 1 is almost all the time is done.
Game 1 is definitely a buy if you're not playing Core Force.
And the problem is that's
Core Force with floodgates because that Storm build is not doing nothing.
Even if you win Game 2, yeah, they're gonna go first game. They're gonna go first Game 3. It's basically Game 1 again, unless you side maybe Max C, and even then, okay, they're gonna do their thing, and you just have more cards to say either I hit or I didn't, and then next one they kill you.
Anybody else before we wrap it up? We got one more topic, excuse me, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Anybody else? Good.
I just feel like, honestly, like I keep on saying about the old archetypes, I just feel like certain cards that was played in formats ago are becoming relevant now because it's Necro matchup. You mentioned, perfect example, Six Samurais. Six Samurais, Sheen with back row is good. Now I realize if you play against Necros, right? Let's say if you summon Nat Beast, you play a Nat Beast against a Necross matchup. Now that's something, again, they're going to be taken out of their comfort zone. They're going to have to go against decisive armor, and they're going to have to sit there and play out that. But again, these are certain cards that your usual search, special, it takes away from that. So now you just did that. Now I'm going to be in an advantage. Because Necross, let's face facts, it makes people want to play Chain Burn. We don't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Against you. We're just going to go search. Oh God, now I got a Brio lock. Now what can I do?
Get trashed.
I just paid $20 to sit there and watch my monsters get vanished, and I can't special.
I remember playing.
Though I will say, Nat Beast against Necros with no back row is a lot more formidable than T-King, no back row against Necros. Because they have to actually have the princess and then search decisive armor. Yeah. They only run one princess the majority of the time, so literally just a Nat Beast by itself can just seal the game. Yeah. Now, last topic, which is what we hit on a little bit earlier before. Just because you're going to play Necros players across the board does not mean that they're playing it right.
Definitely.
And that's the most important thing. You can go to an event and see 7 Necros in the first 7 rounds, but that does not mean that they're playing it right. What Necros reminds me of is Plants, because Plants was one of those decks that everybody was like, this deck is amazing. Tour Guide had just came out when there was like 3 Tangus, 3 Tour Guides, remember that? It was nuts, right?
It was nuts.
Everybody was like, this deck is autopilot, because people think the best deck needs autopilot, which is not necessarily the case all the time. But the thing about Necros is that it's like Plants in the sense that when you open up a hand, you can open up the same hand the majority of the time, but you can always do different plays with it. And for each scenario that your opponent puts on the board, Necros can answer with a different scenario of their own, very similar to Plants. Plants always had so many viable options to go into, and that's how they were so successful. And Necros, even though I don't think they're as good as Plants, because Necros is a lot easier to side into than Plants were, Necros do have that gaming style where they can just, they have so many options on the table. You know, you have a big monster, I can't hit him with card effects of my monsters, okay, I'm just going to search the size of armor, I'm going to hit over you. You can't game me next turn, I have Valkyrius. Yeah. Right? You have a board that's hard to get over, you have a hand, okay, I'm going to drop Trish. Right? You have a board that's full of extra deck monsters, I'm going to drop a Brio. 2 of them's going to go back. And now I'm good. I just set you back a turn. Definitely. And all these different plays it's just so unfair. Because then you have the rituals that banish themselves, to search themselves, and it's not like Breakthrough School. Breakthrough School says, as soon as this goes to the grave that turn, you cannot activate the effect. You can Mind Crush a ritual spell, goes to the grave, banish it, and you get it again, and you just do what the hell you were doing, and you don't even care. And that's what makes Necros so playable. So just remember, a lot of these players tend to forget a lot of their plays, because there's so many things going on. They're really playing Trish. yeah, a lot of these players are playing Trish just to remove cards. They're not going to remember if you Book a Moon their monster, they can just drop Trish and the Book a Moon fizzles. A lot of players don't remember that.
A lot of people don't realize that when they banish the spell card, I've seen this happen so many times. You know, when they banish, for instance, like a kaleidoscope, people let the banishment of a kaleidoscope happen twice a turn. You know, and that's illegal. You can only banish it once per turn. Or using an extra brio effect, or people don't add correctly when they, like, you know, banish for decisive armor and stuff like that. You know, there's all that soft cheating that happens with Necros.
You know what it is? I think it's because Necros, they do so much in such
They do so much, yeah.
People just like, alright, well, I'm going to do whatever
Literally every monster in the deck, excluding the Manju and the Senju, every Necros monster in the actual Necros archetype have multiple card effects. Princess, Brio, Trish, Gungear, Valkyrius, and even the ritual spells have multiple effects. So
it's
because
a lot of reading.
It's a lot of reading, and it's one of those decks that you have to play with a lot in order to understand it, and that's why it reminds me of Plants, because I was terrible with Plants, because I just like to streamline towards one goal, whether it be for X-Sabers, it was just searching, and then I have an option to either drop your hand, blow your back row, do both, whatever. Quill Forge is just search and game.
Swag.
Exactly, swag on you. Necros, whatever you want to do is literally whatever you want to do. And that's the main selling point of the deck. Anyway, this is episode 1 of TCG Inside. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I am Jonathan Sanchez, a.k.a. RanmyakuJouten. This is my co-host,
Michael Smith Grant, a.k.a. MisterPopoTV.
And we want to give a special shout out to Get Their Games, which is located in Staten Island. I got it right this time. Staten Island. Go check out their store for the best prices and one of the more competitive scenes in locals for New York, especially if you want to go there for prize that give out cash prizes. It's every Saturday. So go check that out.
Yep.
Anything else before we go?
No, that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to give this video a like, favorite it, subscribe, so you can get more inside for TCG. And with that said, hopefully you guys enjoy.
Yeah, we'll be back with episode 2 next month because, let's face it, things don't happen that much in this community. So this will be a monthly series.
Yep.
And we're out here.